If you love what you're doing, greatness will come. I needed to either find him another job within the company or he was going to receive a severance package. From that, in having conversation with him, I'm hearing this person's voice break. My name is Roberta Bowens. I've been recruiting for 25 years. I began recruiting, as most folks that are in recruiting didn't really go to school for recruiting. It just happened into recruiting. I was in healthcare at the time, managing equipment supplies for a home care agency. And then due to the HIPAA law change, I ended up, if you want your job, then you need to go find nurses. So that's how I began recruiting. And then from there, it's just grown. I went into technical recruiting, and when I began in technical recruiting, that's when I realized how important being a recruiter was. I realized at that point, at the company that I was working for at the time, they were separating from their parent company. With that separation caused some layoffs. I had an opportunity at a very young age, I was 23, 24 at the time, on the phone with an engineer that I needed to replace. I needed to either find him another job within the company or he was going to receive a severance package. And this was an engineer who provided 30 years of service to the company. From that, in having conversation with him, I'm hearing this person's voice break in tears. He had 2 adult children, one at Michigan State and one at University of Michigan, and a $3,000 mortgage to maintain. And so I understood how important it was in finding him a job. I was successful in replacing him within the company, so that was great. But at that point, I realized that recruiters, and I have a saying, doctors save lives, recruiters change lives. We really have the ability of taking someone's life and moving it to a much better situation, offering them a better situation. And so from that, in going through that experience, I realized how important recruiting was. And I realized that although I tend to focus on the more professional level employees, I'm still making a very important difference. I'm able to impact families in a positive way and help to move them forward. So that's, at that point, why I fell in love with recruiting, and I cannot imagine doing anything else. And I say it's not just my career, it's my ministry, it's my passion, recruiting. So from that, like I said, I've had an opportunity to experience different stories, different roles. And I had one instance where I was recruiting for another engineer. In this role, he knew that he wanted to do something different. He was unhappy where he was, and he had a very broad engineering background. I was able to spend time with him, and I mean probably a good 30 hours of just talking to this candidate, periodically checking in. What is it that he wanted to do? Looking at what companies he wanted to do, and I was able to actually place him with the company that he wanted to go work for, in a role that it was actually a leadership role. Where he had been before, he was limited. There was not room for advancement, only because, in fairness, his manager had just gotten into the role. And so, sometimes with large companies, it takes a moment. I was able to place him where he moved to VP of Technology. And to this day, he's still in that role and he's doing really well. And he loves it. And I always look to try to help folks, even if it's not job related, when I'm speaking with candidates, and I look at everyone as a potential candidate. I may not have a job for you today, but eventually I will. But I just look at everyone and what is it that you want to do? Help them find what they want to do, because I think if you love what you're doing, greatness will come. And so I try to work with people to understand what their passions are, what's important to them in life. If they could create their ideal role, what would it be? And then work to find ways to help them more aligned to get to that place.